So in this video, I'm going to give you some specific examples for the select statement, and I'm going to be using the HR database. The HR database is one that Oracle developed a long time ago, and it has a list of employees and their job histories, the departments that they work in, and the locations of those departments. And it also includes countries and region information. A SQL script that creates this database is provided, and it includes sample data, so you can create this HR database on your own time and run some of these queries directly. So let's move over to MySQL Workbench, and I want to use the HR database. So the most simple query that we can run is select star from, and then give it a table name. Let's say we want all of the employees in the employees table. So I'm going to run that statement, and now notice that it selects every column and every row. How do I know that this is every column? Well, I'm going to compare this to the actual table data itself, and if you look, there are the same columns that we selected here over here on this one. It's an identical copy. It also selects all rows. How do I know that? Because there is no condition on the rows, so it must have selected all of them. So a couple of things that we want to remember with the select statement. Let's just look at the general syntax again. Select all distinct or distinct row, select expression from table references, where we have a where condition, and then we can order by. Well, the first thing I want to look at is ordering, because this is not in any kind of order that makes sense to me. I would rather have an ordering by last name and then first name. So let's do that. Order by last name, comma, first name. When I run that statement, now we see that Abel is the first last name in the list. And if we scroll down, Zlotsky is the last name in the list. So now it's ordered by those particular fields. And if we have someone that has the same name, like Cambrault, the first name is sorted by numerically or alphabetically, in this case alphabetically. So Gerald comes before Nanette, and it's sorted in the grand scheme by last name first, and then within the last name sorted by first name. Now we could say I want the first name to be descending order, so what should this change? Well, now Nanette should come before Gerald in our list. So when I run this, we see now that in our output list, Nanette comes before Gerald because that is in descending order, Z to A rather than A to Z. And we could do the same thing with last name and make everything Z to A. So Zlotsky is first, and if we scroll, Abel is last. And we also see that Nanette comes before Gerald in this situation. We can also change this to be ascending order on first name, and what would that change? Well, Gerald would be before Nanette in this output. So we scroll back down to Cambrault. Gerald is now before Nanette because I've said it should be ascending order. Well, that's all well and good, but I want ascending order for both because that makes more sense to most reporting needs. But I also don't need all of this additional information. So I want to select very specific things in my result set. I want the employee ID. I want the first name. Actually, I'm going to change that. I want the last name before I want the first name. So it looks a little cleaner. And then I want their salary. And that's it. So now when I run this, that's all I'm given. So Ellen, Abel, Sundar, Andy, and so forth as we go down the line. And we only have those 4 columns listed now. But I also want to change this a little further, and I only want people who make over $10,000 to show up in this list. So I can add a where clause, salary is greater than 10,000. Let's say greater than or equal to 10,000. If I run this, notice that there are only 19 records selected, because only those 19 have salaries greater than or equal to 10,000. Let's change that and go less than 10,000. And less than 10,000, it shows that there are 88 rows returned for that query. So this can show how you would actually use the where clause to limit the number of records returned to you. I also showed how to use the order by clause and the select clause to issue select expressions so that you can specify which columns to display. The thing that I haven't shown you how to do is the distinct versus all. Right now the default is all, so this should not change the output whatsoever. However, if we do distinct or distinct row, both of those mean the same thing, and we run this, we note that there are 88 rows here as well. What does that mean? That means there are no duplicates in this output set. When there are duplicates in the output set, distinct would get rid of the duplicated rows and display the row that's duplicated only one time. So I encourage you to practice with this just a little bit and explore some of the other tables that are in the HR database. For example, star from departments. And when you're writing a query, I always suggest that you start with select star. The reason for that, without a where clause, the reason for that is it allows you to look at the data to see what you want to do, and then you can go from there. So I'm going to limit the departments to where the location ID is 1700. Try to run that. So now we see only the locations 1700 in my output list. And then I can start to do things like order by. Instead of the column name, department name, let's just say 2, because that's the second column in the output list. And when I run that, we see that accounting is at the top and treasury is at the bottom, and everything is sorted as you would expect in between. So I do encourage you to go and play around with this data. Remember, use HR and then write your select statements, and just see what you can do with the SQL select statement as practice.